What's up, YouTube? This is Big Mike. This is a request video that I am doing. One of my subscribers requested I do like a career review or a biography, so to speak, of several sports figures throughout different sports genres. And he mentioned Mike Tyson as one possibility. So I know a lot about Mike Tyson, so this is not going to take any research. So I'm going to speak about Mike Tyson. All right. Mike Tyson, basically, as we all know, was the youngest man ever to win the heavyweight title. All right. He superseded the previous mark, which was set by Floyd Patterson. And it's not, a coincidence that both men, Mike Tyson and Floyd Patterson, were trained by the legendary Cus D'Amato. And Mike Tyson, had it not been for Cus D'Amato, we all probably would have never heard of Mike Tyson. And I strongly believe that Mike Tyson would have eventually become a victim of crime. I think he would have become, that's all I'm going to say about that. I think he would have become a victim of crime, and we never would have heard of him, nor would we have cared about him. But Cus D'Amato saw Mike Tyson. He saw this kid who was only 12 years old, but already was 190 pounds of muscle and was 5'8", 5'9", and was a physical specimen, formerly a fat kid. But he saw potential in Mike Tyson. And he made Mike Tyson, for a brief while, he helped to give Tyson the confidence that was needed to become a heavyweight champion. All right, because he recognized that Mike Tyson had low self-esteem. So he would talk to Mike Tyson, build up his confidence mentally, because he knew that the physical gifts aren't everything. You can have all of the physical gifts in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself, then you'll never accomplish what you're looking to accomplish in life, or look to accomplish in your specific mini goal or whatever. And I think that it's not hyperbole or an exaggeration to say that Cus D'Amato saved Mike Tyson's life. And that's why, to this day, Mike Tyson, who was a person who was very untrusting of others, is so fond in his memories of Cus D'Amato. Regardless of race, regardless of generation, Cus D'Amato was Mike Tyson's real father. And I truly wish, because I'm a fan of Mike Tyson's, I truly wish that Cus D'Amato had lived to be 90 instead of 76, I think it was, or 77. I wish he had lived to be 90, because just as Mike Tyson was beginning to bloom and beginning, his ascent in boxing, Cus D'Amato's health was beginning to decline. Throughout his amateur career, Cus D'Amato was there. But just as Mike Tyson was becoming a professional, Cus was starting to get sick. He was starting to even miss some of Tyson's fights. And, I believe it was a year or so before Mike Tyson became a heavyweight champion, Cus D'Amato died. And, but Mike Tyson still had the people around him who were close to Cus and were there from the beginning, and they cared about Mike Tyson, not about what Mike Tyson can do for them, but they genuinely cared about Mike Tyson. Good people. These were people like Kevin Rooney and Jimmy Jacobs. All right. So he still had these good people, these good rocks to lean on whenever the pressures of increasing celebrity got to him. All right. These were people who could talk to Mike. All right. And these are the people that Mike Tyson had respect for, that he respected their opinion and he would listen to them if they gave constructive criticism to him. All right. So for the next 2 years, Tyson was on a meteoric rise. Tyson beat Trevor Berbick in November. I think it was November 22nd, 1986, to become, at age 20, the youngest man ever to win the heavyweight title. And Mike Tyson's brief but powerful and dominant reign as the undisputed heavyweight champion and the baddest man on the planet brought renewed interest to boxing. When I say that, I think that in the history of boxing, I think that when it comes to popularity, there are only two men who clearly exceeded Tyson in popularity. That would be Muhammad Ali, who was a global icon, one of the most popular men that ever walked this planet. May he rest in peace. And Joe Louis. Jack Dempsey is comparable, but I don't know whether he had the global popularity that Tyson and Lewis and Ali had. American, yeah, Jack Dempsey was extremely popular. I think he was in the first bout that had $1 million gate. I think that was it Dempsey Furpa? 1923, 1922, 1923, whatever. But when it comes to popularity, only two men, in my opinion, exceeded Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, many people who are younger may find this hard to believe, but in 1987, 1988, I think the three most popular sports figures in the world, well, and I'm going to say in America because I can't speak for the world, but the three most popular sports figures in America, I would say at that time, were probably 1988, I would say, or Mike Tyson, Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan maybe fourth, Larry Bird fifth, somewhere in that time. Those are the five top guys. But Mike Tyson probably was the most popular, or at the very least the most hyped, if you want to say it like that. This was a Mike Tyson who was, getting endorsements. The things that Tyson was doing, because you can't remember that Tyson was still a guy who was a juvenile delinquent. Mike Tyson was still doing things that were not reported because we didn't live in the age of social media, but he was doing things that were wrong. Okay. But he was still doing petty shit that he shouldn't be doing, but it was covered up by people who loved and cared about him. And he was, on TV specials with the goddamn Bill Huxtable sweater on and shit and looking like the All-American kid and all that shit. But it began to unravel for Mike, man. And when he met Robin Givens, that has to be mentioned, when he met Robin Givens and when Jimmy Jacobs died. When his manager Jimmy Jacobs died and Bill Caton took over, Bill Caton did not have the same love for Mike Tyson the way that Jimmy Jacobs did. Jimmy Jacobs cared about Mike Tyson. Bill Caton looked at Tyson as a brand, and that's it. But I still think in the long run that Tyson would have been better off with Caton over Don King. Okay, but in the end, Tyson, I believe it was after, when did he go over to King? Because I forget, I think it was after he beat Spinks. I think it was after he beat Spinks, or a little bit afterward. Tyson switched over to Don King. Don King preached a lot of nonsense to Tyson. Soon afterward, the whole old guard camp was gone. Everybody. He fired Caton, who really wasn't part of the old guard, but he was still been better off, in my opinion, in the long run than Don King. And quite famously, Tyson got rid of the trainer that everybody thought that Tyson should have kept, Kevin Rooney. And you could see the change in Tyson's fighting style and skill set afterward. When he fought Frank Bruno and Call the Truth Williams in 1989, you could see that Tyson had regressed from the Picadoo style and became more of a headhunter. He wasn't as elusive as he used to be. He didn't throw as many combinations as he once did. He became more or less like, he became a headhunter. And he kind of fought like, in my opinion, like Rocky Marciano. You know what I mean? But Rocky was limited in some of his physical ability, which is why Rocky had to take such a high risk. And that style suited him. Tyson had physical gifts that Marciano could only dream of. So why was Tyson limiting himself by fighting like a headhunter? He just became obsessed with the knockout. I guess kind of like how a power hitter becomes obsessed with the home run, and he forgets about all the other shit that was instilled in him. Going for singles when they're needed, going for doubles, and what have you. Kind of like how Sammy Sosa went from being a 3 or 4 tool player to being like a 1 tool player. You know what I mean? Sammy was once a 30-30 guy, and by 2001, Sammy was a guy who had 64 home runs, but I think 0 stolen bases or something like that. But Tyson just became a headhunter, and it was entertaining for a while. But Tyson's personal life was becoming hell. He had a horrible relationship for the most part, with Don King. He was a miserable person personally, and Robin Givens, and her mother was Robin Tyson blind, and that marriage was doomed for failure. She lied about being fucking pregnant, and a lot of distractions in his personal life, man. A lot of distractions, and he wasn't training adequately. He got caught when he fought Frank Bruno. And then there was that horrible night in Tokyo, which shocked the shit out of me back then. Even as a 9-year-old, I was shocked seeing Tyson look so horrible. I think Tyson got hit more in that one fight than altogether in his other cumulative fights combined. Yeah, there was that 13, 14 second knockout or count that should have been a knockout for Tyson, but it shouldn't even gotten to that point. But afterward, man, it was just a slow decline, man. I always thought that Tyson would regain his title afterward, but Buster Douglas did Tyson dirty, in my opinion. Never want to give him a rematch. Then when everybody thought that Tyson was going to fight Evander Holyfield, then come the Desiree Washington rape allegation. Now, all I'm going to say is this. I'm not saying that it was a conspiracy, it was a setup, but I think it's interesting that Desiree Washington is the cousin of Evander Holyfield. And that Desiree Washington had in the past accused a high school boyfriend, a high school sweetheart, of raping her, when in fact he had not. So all I'm going to say is use your own judgment when it comes to that. So then Tyson spends 3 years in prison. All right. His body declines. He's not old, but he's getting older. And he comes out of prison in 1995 weighing only about 195 pounds reportedly. This is a man who went into prison probably weighing like 235 pounds. So, you know, he comes out of prison. And I remember all of the hype for him, man. He was going to fight Peter McNeely. Tyson's back. He's going to dominate the heavyweight division, which had been looked at as talented with the emergence of guys like Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe, Oliver McCall, Lennox Lewis, David Tua. The heavyweight division was probably at its strongest since the heyday of Muhammad Ali. But it was lacking that personality that put asses in the seats like Tyson did, that dominant personality. And when Tyson came back, he was different. He seemed to be, appeared to have the facade of being more balanced, and he was embracing Islam, and he was, he seemed different. But when he got in the ring, you could obviously see the degradation of his skills, which had been degrading for a while. But he still had skills, like, for instance, when he fought a guy like Razor Ruddock. He was more of a headhunter, but he still threw combinations. He still had the punching accuracy. Now he looked like the Dave Kingman of power punchers. When he connected, it was solid, but for the most part, he was swinging and missing. And we saw that with Buster Mathis, but slowly I thought Tyson was getting a little bit better with his footwork in the ring, with throwing combinations. He was getting better. And this was what the frustration of watching Mike Tyson, if you were a fan at that time, was. Whenever you thought he was making progress, when he would take one step forward, something would happen that would make him take 2 steps backwards. All right? He regained a portion of the title when he beat Frank Bruno in March of '96, I believe it was. He beat Bruce Seldon. And it was September '96, infamously, that was the night Tupac was shot. And I remember it being announced that he was going to fight with just 2 months' notice of Evander Holyfield. That was a mistake, because I believe at that time, Holyfield was looked at as washed up. He had just lost his trilogy fight to Riddick Bowe, and he didn't look good in that fight. Now we know he didn't look good because I believe he was suffering from, what was the illness he was suffering from? Oh, Jesus, I forget now. Somebody in the comment section will remember. But he was taking some type of medication which made you ebb and flow when it comes to energy. But unbeknownst to Tyson and company, and I made a video speaking about this, Holyfield was roiding up. All right. Now, did Tyson ever take anything? I don't know. I don't think Tyson was taking anything as of yet. But it was obvious that Evander Holyfield was taking something, because when they fought each other in November of '96, Holyfield was pushing Tyson around. Pushing him around, taking his punches, and he bullied Mike Tyson, got to Tyson mentally, and won an 11th round TKO stoppage. And the rematch was in June of '97, and that was the lowest moment of Tyson's career. Okay, Tyson lost the first couple of rounds. He was coming in his own in the third round. I had Tyson winning that third round when the ear bite incident happened. Tyson was reportedly getting tired of being headbutted by Holyfield and nothing being done about it. He was being headbutted again in his rematch, and Tyson snapped. All right, Tyson snapped. He shouldn't have bit the man's ear off. But whatever. Tyson does that. He becomes a social pariah. He's banned from the sport, loses his boxing license, and he becomes the most hated man on the planet. And at this time, I was very angry with society, with their feelings toward Tyson, because I thought that Tyson was I thought he was misunderstood. First of all, I was at that time, I was 17 years old. I was becoming more socially conscious and aware of certain things. And I thought that a lot of the hatred toward Tyson was racially motivated to an extent. I thought that the rape conviction was bullshit. I thought it was a smudge on his character. And I can understand, I listened to interviews of Tyson at that time. I can see why he was so fucking angry. You know? But for the rest of his career, after the ear biting incident, I think that it was another portion of Tyson's career where he just had a slow decline, and he became more of an interest, like a circus attraction. No longer a legitimate title contender, just a name that put asses in the seats, and you didn't know what would happen. Maybe Tyson knocked somebody out. Maybe he's going to, bite somebody. Hell, maybe Tyson's going to kill somebody. And he beat some solid guys, Lou Savarese. Okay, he beat some solid fighters, Francois Botha. But the great fighters of his era, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, he lost in devastating fashion. Which is why, when it comes to legacy, I can't put Tyson higher than top 15. Because I thought that the second half of his career was so mediocre compared to what we saw earlier. All right, and after he knocked out Clifford Etienne, I think that's how you pronounce his name, in 2003, he became even worse. He became a shell of the fighter that he was. At least from 95 to 02, 03, he was able to beat the B and C list fighters. He just couldn't beat the top guys. But after that, he started losing to people who probably used to work at Taco Bell, like Danny McBride. You know what I mean? When he started losing to those types of guys, then I knew it was time for Tyson to retire. He got a cool, interesting tattoo on his face. Mike attributed that to his low self-esteem. He just wanted to do something to make his face look different, whatever. But when Tyson retired when he was 39 years old, I think he had done more than enough to be seen as a certifiable Hall of Famer. But I think as time has gone on, Tyson has had his trials and tribulations outside the ring. He had substance abuse issues. He lost a daughter, which is something I don't know how I could even contend with dealing with. Okay, I don't know how I'll be able to deal with that. But Mike Tyson's now 51 years old. He'll be 52 at the end of this month. He's a more centered person. I think he's more comfortable in his own skin. And what I always loved about Mike Tyson, in my opinion, is that he was honest and he was a real person. There was no facade. There was no, unlike Michael Jordan, a phony persona that he was using in public while in private he was another person. Mike Tyson was Mike Tyson. Whether he was talking to President Reagan or whether he was talking to me or you, he was the same person. Whether he's talking to Donald Trump or whether he's talking to you, he's the same person. All right? And also, I think he's an inspiration, and he was always an inspiration to inner city youth. When Mike Tyson used to say nobody liked him or everybody hated him, I used to plead with him when I watched the television screen. I used to plead with him as if he could hear me. I'm like, no, Mike, I love you. A lot of us love you. You know, we can relate to you. We were the silent minority, if you want to put it like that. We were the silent minority that always would have Mike Tyson back. That's why Mike Tyson is so endeared to hip hop, to the hip hop community, endeared by the hip hop community, excuse me, and why Mike Tyson's popularity continues. And that's how I feel about Mike Tyson. Thank you.